25-4, no problem, right? Easy to do the rest of the way. So basically the Pelicans would have to go Golden State on you if they wanted to match last year's record where they got into the playoffs as the final seed and got dismissed, swept in the first round by the eventual world champions. I don't think that's going to happen, but the Pelicans are still at least mathematically alive and hoping to get back to the playoffs this year despite having a losing record from day one. And that's because the Western Conference isn't as strong this year, although the teams in the bottom half of the top 8 have gotten significantly better in recent times. Let's take a look at the race for 8th in the Western Conference. Portland and Utah occupying the 7 and 8 spots, and they right now find themselves at 500 each. And then you've got Houston, Sacramento dropping off, and then Denver, New Orleans. But when you look at those three in that 7, 8, 9 spot, those are going to be tough teams to catch when you consider where these teams are right now. That's a tough nut to crack. And then you have to look at the relative talent on the teams too, Brian. It looks like not only an uphill task, but a very, very difficult task.
Right, and you know what? I was putting a pencil to it just like you were, Kenny, after the break. In order for them just to reach 500, okay, at the end of the year, that's 41-41, they've got to go 21-8, all right? 500 probably may get you in this year again. There may be one team in there, but I'm like Kenny. I just don't see it happening. They're going to have to turn an about face here to get that kind of consistency, because you can't do it going 4-6 over 10 games or 5-5. You've got to put together a streak here.
No Tyreek Evans the rest of the way, Ricky. They never did have Quincy Pondexter, so again, they billing out some key parts, and they'll be without Evans the rest of the way.
Yeah, well, looking at their roster, though, and looking out to where they played, I thought they had a better team this year than they did last year. So it's kind of disappointing to see the way the outcome and the way they're playing down the stretch. A lot of guys not playing team ball, and a lot of guys taking shots that they should be taking. And really, you don't know who the leader out there, and that's what they're missing. They're missing a leader, somebody to come in and take control and get everybody in the right position, and that's what they're missing.
Time off from the All-Star break, get your body healed up, get your mind refreshed. Will that help these guys, Ricky?
Well, that'll help them, but you got to realize other teams got better, and the Pelicans, to me, they got a little better, but it looked like to me I can see where the lower teams got a little better than the Pelicans did.
All-Star game, and of course, Anthony Davis representing the Pelicans went 12 for 13 from the field, 24.6 rebounds for what it's worth. We'll talk more about All-Star games in our Hot Seat segment, but it's still good to see him there, Brian. Good to see him perform well. Good to see him represent. Good to see him being talked about in very nice fashion.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm interested in watching his body language and his dynamics as he enters the second phase of the season right here. You want Anthony Davis. He is the face of the franchise right now. He's being paid a lot of money to not only play, but to keep everybody's spirits up. So in addition to scoring points and doing all the things he does on the court, he's still going to have to be a big leader off the court as well.
Now, if you look at the numbers, Ricky, his rebounding numbers are down this year.
Everything's down.
His shooting percentage is down this year. His rebound numbers are down.
Well, you know what? He going into the game thinking about points. And I don't know who done told him, but my whole thing is he got to get some more guys around him. I looked at the Heat's team when they had Bosh and Wade and LeVon. They had more than one guy can pull a load. And he looking around as he the only guy can pull a load, so he feel like he need a whole lot of points. And that's their problem this year. He's shooting way. If he missed the ball, who gonna get the rebound? Nobody. Yeah. So,
Well, this stands to reason the team is losing, and they've struggled from day one, but their attendance is down and their TV ratings are way down, 36% down from a year ago.
Okay.
And the lowest TV audience in the NBA, Brian, and that's a concern moving forward.
That is a concern.
And I'll tell you another thing, Ken. I show you that, it's hard to do when you got guys running the football and the basketball. It's hard to keep both of them up to the top level.
Well, can I just say one more thing about AD is that I understand what you're saying, and I think you're accurate. I think you're correct with it, Rick. But you know what? You've had so many injuries, it's hard to depend on people on a regular basis. Now, that's not the way it's been all season long, but really for the bulk of this season, AD is it, and if you don't know the help that's going to be with you on a game-by-game basis, it is difficult,
Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for the New Orleans Pelicans coming out of the All-Star break. Philadelphia, well, you got to win that one, right? And worst team in the league. Then it's at Detroit, a much-improved team. at Washington, a disappointing team.
Right.
It should be better than Oklahoma City, who's been lights out, and Minnesota. Well, you look at the top end of that and the bottom end of that, Rick. Philadelphia, Minnesota at home. You got to win those two, right?
Yeah, I mean, right there, you should lose one game. Oklahoma should be the only game that you should think about, but you should win the rest of them. So, right there, you should go 4-1.
That's not going to happen. They're
no,
not as good as Detroit or Washington.
I agree, Kenny. I mean, and that's what you got to do, though, Rick.
Right.
You have to go 4-1.
Sure you do.
And if you break this down into 5 segments of the remaining part of the season, you've got to go 4-1 almost in every one of them to make sure that you got a good chance of making the playoffs.
And I think, David's got to get back inside a little more. I mean, right now, they're shooting too many three-pointers, and even much the 2-pointers that he's getting, they way out. You know what I mean? These guys got to realize they got to get closer to that basket.
Because they don't have an inside game, because their
Right.
centers, Ajinsa's a jump shooter, and Ashik's not an offensive player at all.
And Anderson's a 3-point shooter.
Sure.
I mean, so yeah, he's it. He's the guy.
Speaking of Anderson, a lot of rumors about him being traded,
Yeah.
and a lot of talk about the fact that should he be traded, be careful, because he'll be a rental in the sense that he wants to go to free agency in the offseason regardless. So stay tuned. That goes without saying. So we'll see what happens. Trivia is always a fun part of the show. It's time for our sportsNOLA.com trivia question of the evening. Jari Evans named first team All-Pro. Now that's significant. 4 times in his career as a Saint. What 2 Saints were the first in franchise history to be named first team All-Pro? That happened in the same year. Think about that. Back to answer the question when we have our hot seat segment on All-Star Games in a moment on sportsNOLA TV.